Okay, we're going to move on to problem 51. So we get 1/2 plus 1/4 divided by 1/2 minus 1/4. So, the rules of order of operation are you do everything in the numerator and everything in the denominator. Once you get those, then you can compare them. So, in this case, we would find a common denominator, and this we could multiply just 2 times 4, but it'd be easier if we just see that 2 times 2 is 4, so we can change the first fraction into 2/4 by multiplying the numerator and the denominator by 2. And we can do the same thing in the denominator, so that half also becomes 2/4, and we subtract 1/4. So 2 plus 1 is 3, so we get 3/4 divided by 1/4. 2 minus 1 is 1. And just like we did previously, if you divide a number, if you're dividing by something, this is equivalent to multiplying by the reciprocal. So the reciprocal of 1/4 is 4 divided by 1. 1 divided by 4, reciprocal. You change the numerator to the denominator. Before we multiply it out, we see if we have something that we can cancel out or simplify, and we can see we can divide both of those by 4. So we get 1, and so you can see the answer is equal to 3. And let's look at 54. So we have 3/16 minus 1/2 divided by 5/16 plus 1/8. So we're going to do these separately. And again, we can see that 16 divided by 2 is 8. So we can create the fraction equivalent to a half that's in terms of 16. So we'll have 3/16 minus 1/2, multiply by 8, and divide by 8. In the denominator, we have 5/16 again. We can see that if we take 16 divided by 8, we get 2. So we can take 1/8 and multiply it by 2 and divide it by 2, which is the same as multiplying by 1. So in the numerator, we have 3/16 minus 8/16. In the denominator, we have 5/16 plus 2/16. Before we can do any division, then we have to complete these. So we get 3 minus 8 is -5. -5/16 divided by 5 plus 2 is 7/16. 5 plus 2 is 7, and that's 16. And then finally, dividing by a number is like multiplying by its reciprocal. Not just is like it, it is it. So you change the numerator to the denominator, to the denominator to the numerator. You see these cancel out, and they become 1. You divide both of those by 16. You do it in the numerator and the denominator, as long as you do it in 2 places, either on either side of the equal sign or in the numerator and the denominator, then everything works out right. So our final answer is -5/7. Did I do something wrong? Okay, what did they do wrong? Apparently I did something wrong because that's not the answer. Let's see. Let's go back up here. 3/8 minus 1/2. That's true. 8/16. 5 plus 2/16. 7/16 minus 5/16. Multiply by the reciprocal, minus 5/7. Okay, I think I'm right, so let me just check, see what we get. So I'm going to just do it on my calculator, see what kind of number I get. 3/16 minus 1/2 divided by the quantity 5 divided by 16 plus 1/8. And I get negative 0.714, which is the same as if you take 5 divided by 7, you get 0.714. So apparently the book is wrong, and I'm right. Okay. Let's look at problem 57. So we get 2 plus 1 divided by 1 plus 1 divided by 3 plus 1/2. So this is the numerator. This whole thing is the denominator. Then you have this part, this is the numerator, and that's the denominator. So we have to start here at the bottom. So we'll take that, and we have 1 over this, and we convert this to a fraction, which is going to be, you get 2 times 3 is 6. 6 plus 1 is 7. So you get 7/2. Then we can replace 1 divided by 7/2 by dividing by the numbers like multiplying by the reciprocal. So this becomes 1 over 1 plus 2/7. So we have 1 times 2/7 instead of 1 divided by 7/2. Okay, now we're going to do this part. So we have 2 plus 1 divided by 1 and 2/7. So we're going to change that to 7/7 plus 2/7. So we get 2 plus 1 divided by 9/7. But dividing by 9/7 is like multiplying by 7/9. So 7/9 times 1 is 7/9. And then we have two numbers. So we convert this to a fraction, which involves 9 as the denominator. To do that, we take 9 times 2, which is 18. We divide by 9. So 18 divided by 9 is 2. And we add 7/9. So 18 plus 7 is 25. So the final answer is 25/9. Let's look at 60. It says find the rational number halfway between the two given rational numbers. So basically what we're doing is we have 60, which is 1/3, and 5/12. Well, the number that's halfway between those is just the average. So the average is you add the two numbers together and you divide by 2. So the numerator, we're going to find the common denominator of 12. So to do that, you take 3 times 4, which is 12, and you multiply both the numerator and the denominator by 4. So you get 4 times 1, which is 4, and 3 times 4, which is 12. And then you get 5/12. Okay, since these have the same denominator, we can add this together. So we get 9/12 divided by 2. So how does this work? Do I divide 9 by 2 or divide it by 12 by 2? Well, the best way to do it is to rewrite this bottom number as 2 divided by 1. 2 divided by 1 is 2. And so now we have two fractions, and all you have to do is say that dividing by this is like multiplying by the reciprocal. The reciprocal of 2. 2 over 1 is 1 over 2. So we multiply those out, and we get 9/24. 9 times 1 is 9, 12 times 2 is 24. And is that something that we can simplify? Is there a common factor? Well, yes, there is. It's 3. You can divide both those by 3. So you get 3/8. So that's the average, and that's halfway between 1/3 and 5/12. So let's do another one. Let's do 63. So we have negative 2/3 and negative 5/6. So we take negative 2/3 and we add a negative 5/6. We divide by 2. Okay, what kind of common denominator can we come up with here? Well, 6 divided by 3 is 2, so it works out. So we're going to take this times 2 and that times 2. So we'll get 2/3 is the same as 4/6. And then we have the second term, which is negative 5/6, and we divide by 2. We have the common denominator, so we can then combine the numerators. So you get negative 9, negative 4 minus 5 is negative 9, divided by 6, divided by 2. So just like before, we'll create this fraction. And so dividing by 2 is like multiplying by its reciprocal. So the reciprocal of 2 divided by 1 is 1 divided by 2. And so we get negative 9/12. 9 times 1 is 9, 2 times 6 is 12. And we see if that's the lowest version. Well, we look for a common term, and you can see that you got 3. 9 can be divided by 3, and 12 can be divided by 3. So you divide both of them by 3. And so we get negative 3/4. And that's your answer. Okay, so let's stop there and we'll do one more. Okay, the last problems we found a number exactly between two fractions, but it turns out there's another way, which is if you want to find a fraction between two other fractions, two rational numbers, all you have to do is just add the numerators and add the denominators, and you get, and then simplify it. So a number between 5/6 and 9/13, we take 5 plus 9 divided by 6 plus 13, which is equal to 14 divided by 19. So 14/19 is really between those, not necessarily exactly between those two. 6/11 and 13/14. So we take 6 plus 13 divided by 11 plus 14, which is 19 divided by 25. And you can figure that out by just doing the decimal equivalents. So let's just prove this one. 6 divided by 11 is 0.5454. So that's the part that repeats. We have 13 divided by 14, which is equal to 0.928571428. And that must be where we start repeating itself. Okay. So that's fairly long, but anyway, this part would be the repetitive part. And so you take 19 divided by 25, and you get 0.76. So this is 0.76. It doesn't have any repeating decimal because it's divisible by 5. 25 is divisible by 5, so you get nice, just 2 decimal points. So 0.76 is between these two. It's not exactly in the middle. In the middle would be 0.928 plus 0.5454 divided by 2, which is 0.7352. So it's pretty close, but not exactly. So that's easy to do. All you need to do are those. Convert each rational number into either a repeating or a terminating decimal. Use a calculator if your instructor so allows. Okay, so we've got 3/4. So you plug it in your calculator. You can use your calculator. So you see you get 0.75. Again, it's even, so you're going to be able to get a terminating where it's just 2 decimal points. Not just 2, but it's a finite number of decimal points. Let's do 90, which is 80, which is 9/32. So plug it in your calculator. 9 divided by 32 is equal to 0.28125. That's it, 5 decimal points. I had this thought. I wondered if you divide this is 32 is equal to 2 to the 5th. And 4 is equal to 2 squared. Notice we've got 2 decimal points here, and we have 5 there. So let's just pick one out of here. Let's say 5/16. As long as these are odd numbers, so if they were even, it would come out to something a little less. But let's just try an odd. So 5 divided by 16 is equal to 0.3125. And 16 is 2 to the 4th, so we have 4 decimal points. Let's try 3/8. 3 divided by 8 is 0.375. 8 is 2 to the 3rd power. We have 3 decimal points. Let's try one even further. Let's try 7/64. So 7 divided by 64 is 0.109375, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 64 is 2 to the 6, so seems to be a pattern there. Let's try 83. 2/7. Okay, because the denominator is not a multiple of 5 or multiple of 2, we're going to get some repeating things. So 2 divided by 7 is 0.2857142857. So we have 2857, 2857. So it looks like we would use 0.285714 and do that. I was just looking at 84. Let's just do 84 because it kind of contradicts what I just said a second ago. But if you take 11 divided by 15, at first I thought that would be something that, so I guess if it's a multiple of 2 or it's 5, then you get a finite number of decimal points. But if it's not 5, which in this case is 15, then it's a repeating thing. So if you take 11 divided by 15, you get 0.733333, etc. And so we can just write it as 0.73 with a little bar over top of it. Okay, the next section, converting determining decimal into a quotient of integers. Write each in lowest terms. So 85, we have 0.4. So trying to think about, let's see if there's any rules here that apply to converting. So let's see, write each terminating thing. Well, it seems like if you just have a tenths thing, you multiply it by 10. So you would say you take 0.4 times 10 divided by 10. What that does is it shifts this 1 unit. So you get 4 divided by 10, multiplied by 10 and divided by 10. So that's multiplying by 1. So 0.4 times 10 gives you a whole number, and you divide by 10. But then you can simplify because they're even numbers, so that becomes 2/5. Okay. So let's try, actually I want to do all of these because that's one of the things I always was wondering about. So you get 0.9. So again, because it's just 1 decimal point, we'll multiply by 10 and divide by 10. So we get 9/10. And that's as far as we can go because we don't have a common factor. Okay, let's look at 87. 0.85. So there's 2 decimals, so we multiply it by 100 and we'll divide by 100. And that'll be 85 over 100. And then we see if we can simplify that. So, we look for a common factor, so we go through the primes. And they're not even, so we can't use 2. You can't divide 100 by 3. 4 is not going to work if 2 doesn't work, so none of the even ones work anymore. So now we go to 5, and we see that they both end in 5 or 0, so we can divide it by 5. So we take 85 divided by 5, and we get 17. And 100 divided by 5 is 20. And that's as far as we can go because 17 is a prime number. So we get 17/20. Okay, let's try 88. 0.105. So it's 3 decimals, so we'll multiply by 1,000 in both the numerator and the denominator. So that gives you 105 divided by 1,000. Can you reduce that? Well, again, you can divide this by 2. They're not even, but they're not both even, so that 2 is not going to work. 3 is not going to work in the denominator. 4, again, all the evens is not going to work, so you get a 5. You say, okay, yeah, I can divide both of those 5. So you take 105 divided by 5, and I get 21. And I divide 1,000 by 5, and I get 200. Okay, then I look at it. Okay, well, 21, you can't divide 200 by 21. So what other factors? You have 3, you can't divide 200 by 3, because 2 plus 0 plus 0 is 2, which you can't divide by 3. You have 7, and so we can try that. 200 divided by 7, I know it doesn't work. You get 28.57. So that's your lowest form, 21/200. Okay, 89. 0.3934. Okay, it's 3 decimals, so we multiply by 3 zeros, 1 with 3 zeros, so we get 934 divided by 100. So we can divide by 2, 934. 934 divided by 2, which is 467 divided by 500. So now, is there a common factor here? Well, you can't divide this by 2 because it's odd. You can't divide this by 3 because 5 isn't divisible by 3. You can't do it by 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, etc. So then you go to 5. You can't divide that by 5 because it doesn't end in a 0 or 5. 7. I don't think 500 can be divided by 7. No. And so I think that's it. That is it. Okay. And let's do 0.97984. So that's 4. So we put 1 with 4 zeros in both the numerator and the denominator. So multiply by 10,000. So you get 7,984 divided by 10,000. Okay, now what the heck do we do? Okay, well, they're both even, so let's just go ahead and divide by 2. 7,984 divided by 2. So we get 3,992 divided by 5,000. Okay, they're still both even, so we divide by 2. And we get 1,996 divided by 2,500. Divide by 2 again. We get 998 by 1,250. 998 divided by 2 is 499. And we divide by 1,250 divided by 2 is 625. I'm pretty sure 499 is a prime number. Let's see, 18 plus 2 is 22, so I can't divide by 3. And anyway, that is the answer. So now I was thinking about, like these, like 3/16. Now let's just see what that is and go back the other direction. So 3 divided by 16 is 0.1875. So if we just use our method here, we get 10,000 divided by 10,000. So we get 1,875 divided by 10,000. So one thing, you can see we can divide by 5. So 1,875 divided by 5 is 375. And we get 10,000 divided by 5, which is 2,000. Well, again, we can divide by 5 because this ends in a 5 and that ends in a 0. So we get 375 375 divided by 5, which is 75. And we get 2,000 divided by 5 is 400. Again, they're both divisible by 5, so 75 divided by 5 is 15. And 400 divided by 5 is 80. Again, they're divisible by 5, so we do it again. We get 3, and 80 divided by 5 is 16. So we get 3/16. So we had to go through a few gyrations. Is there an easier way to go from 1,875 10,000ths? Well, I think if you found the greatest common factor between those two and divided them out, I think it would work out. It's probably just what we did anyway, really. So let's use this, the second method that we learned about finding the greatest common factors. You list your two numbers, and then you divide them out. So that's basically what we're doing here. We're 1,875 divided by 5 is 375. 10,000 divided by 5 is 2,000. And then we divide by 5 again, which gives us 375 divided by 5 is 75. 2,000 divided by 5 is 400. We divide by 5 again. We get 25. Oh, we get 25. We get 15. And we get 80. And we divide by 5 again. We get 3 and 16. And so our greatest common factor is these multiplied together. So you have 5 to the 4th power, which is 625. So if you take 1,875 and divide by 625, and you take 10,000 and you divide by 625, 1,875 divided by 625 is 3, and 10,000 divided by 625 is 16. And there it is. Or you can see that these two numbers, this divided by that, is your reduced fraction. So that would be another way of doing it. Okay, let's look at 91. Saying, is it repeating or terminating? Well, we said it's repeating if it's divisible by 5, if you divide by 5, or if it's an even number. So 91 is 8 divided by 15. So this 15 is divisible by 5, but it's not 5 itself. So this is repeating. If you look at 92, we've got 8 divided by 35. Again, it's not 5 and it's not even, so it's repeating. Then we have 93, which is 13 divided by 125. Well, this is actually 3 times 5, this is 7 times 5. But if you look at this, it's going to be 5 times 5 times 5. So it's really 13 divided by 5 cubed. And it turns out, so if this number is 5, 25, 125, 625, then it must be terminating. So let's try the next one. 94, 3 divided by 24. Well, 24 is even, so it's terminating. 95 is 22 divided by 55. Well, 55 is divisible by 5, but it's not 5, 25, or 125, or 625. So this is repeating. Actually, it says it's terminating. So why is that? What is this? What is this rule that I keep screwing up? So it says a rational number in lowest terms. Okay, terminating if and only if the prime factor of the denominator, if the only prime factor of the denominator is 2 or 5, or both. So the prime factor of the denominator, the only prime factor of the denominator is 2 or 5 or both. So 10 would work. So why is 95 repeating? I can see what it is. It's, if you divide both the numerator and the denominator by 11, you get 2/5, which is terminating. But how does that work? I guess you have to take it to its lowest common denominator first. So we can actually reduce this down to, if we divide both by 11, we get 2/5. So it is 5. So let's think about this one. Let's look at these other cases. So here, that's as low as we can go, and that's as low as we can go. That's as low as we can go, but it is 2 cubed, and it's the only prime factor. It's 5 times 5 times 5. This is even, so that works out. And this one works because we didn't reduce it to its minimum. Its most simple factor, so that's why this one is repeating. I mean terminating. Sorry, because this is equivalent to that. And the last problem I'll do is 96. So we have 24 divided by 75. So the prime factor is 75. Well, let's try. You can't do 2. You can do 3, which gives you 25. 25 divided by 5 is 5. So you have 3 times 5 squared. Well, 5 is not the only prime factor, so that doesn't work. And we can't simplify it, I don't think. Let's see. We can simplify it a little bit because this can be divided by 3, which gives you 8. And well, so maybe that doesn't work. Okay, so we didn't simplify it, so you get 8 25ths. And now this 25 you can break up into just 5 times 5, so that one does work. So this one also is terminating. So first thing we learned here is that first you have to reduce it down to its lowest, simplest fraction. And then you look at it. Interesting. Okay.